This is Birds Huddle, powered by PointsBet. Alongside the man, the myth, the legend, that is Barrett Brooks. I'm Amy Fadool. So B, Jason Kelce sidelined for the rest of the preseason. We know that. How big is it to get Mailata and Dillard back out there?
Well, I mean, those are the backside protectors of a right-handed quarterback. You're the left tackle, you're protecting his bad side. You want to make sure that he feels safe to go out there and deliver the ball when he wants to. So that guy, both of those guys there, they need him in the lineup. Very
welcome sight indeed. Eagles fans, they cannot wait to see this revamped Eagles roster. Let's check in with Nick Sirianni this morning on how much the starters might actually play in Friday night's preseason opener.
Don't have to make a final decision, obviously, until they go out there. But we're thinking 1 to 2 series with the starters. You want to get everybody ready to go. Again, there's different ways. We have opportunities to get our starters ready different ways in the sense of the joint practices and the different things that we do there.
And with that, let's get to Barrett's 3-point stance, presented by your Mercedes. Number 1, B, your first stance is Jalen Hurts and the Eagles starters should get in and should get out quickly for the preseason opener Friday.
Picture that, me saying that. You know,
you usually are all in.
Exactly. Usually I'm the, get off my lawn. That old guy said, hey, well, you need to practice a lot longer than that. You need 3 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours at night. You need full pads. You need to run uphill, do hills. You need to do all that stuff. But no, I have refined myself.
Okay.
It's a new acquired taste that I have.
I like it.
I think that these Eagles players are used to being pampered like that, so they don't need a lot of reps. Yes, they don't need a lot of reps. These guys are used to not going out there and have the strenuous practice that we were used to, so they need to just go out there for a couple of snaps and get out of there. Get in and get out real quick. At the end of the day, you don't want the injuries. And I'm looking at the NFL injuries. There's not a lot because they went to this new system. So I'm looking at a team like, all right, Cleveland, Jakeem Grant Sr., a Pro Bowler. One of their best, he is their best returner, is out for the season. He's on IR right now. I mean, there's so many guys that, Isaiah Winston, wide receiver, Sean Weatherby, a defensive end, Reggie Robinson. All those guys are out on IR with Cleveland's team. You know why? Because they've been practicing like idiots. They've been out there hitting and doing as much as they can, being out there too long. At this point, I think the Eagles have a grasp on what they need to do. Going out there and practicing. They get in, they get out. The most extraneous practice they have is an hour and 50 minutes. But during that hour and 50 minutes, they make sure they maximize every single moment in practice. They go out there and make sure they facilitate, a healthy environment because they get in, they're running and sprinting every drill. They're making sure they get in, do their work, make sure they, get off their feet, get back in there, go over the film. It's the new wave on how teams practice right now. So I can only say, hey, it worked for them, not a lot of injuries. I'm good if they go forward.
It's weird. The Browns have never been really called that before.
Well,
or every season
that's
for
what
the last
saying.
45 years.
I mean,
either way, you choose. I like it. All right, your second stance today. Jalen Reagor is in a battle to make this Eagles roster. Today, Reagor spoke to the media for the first time since October of 2021. And the 2020 first-round pick realizes that a roster spot is not guaranteed as he enters now his 3rd season.
Me personally, I love a good challenge, so it's a humbling experience because you go from being a first rounder to you battling. So, I mean, but I like challenges though. We got a hell of a room, so like you said, there's competition in there. Obviously people have their jobs, some people don't, and some people fighting. So you just got to come in, and when people go down, you step up. When people up, you just make sure you be ready when it's your time. I want to be here for the rest of my career, but I mean, it's a business. It's a business of production. So, I'm gonna handle my end. I'm gonna let them handle theirs.
All right, B, does Reagor need a strong preseason in order to make this team, or has he done enough so far?
No, he absolutely needs to have a strong season, a strong preseason. At this point, he's interviewing for 31 other teams. You look at Jalen Reagor at this point. He's having a pretty good camp. But where is he at on this roster? When I look at him, I say A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Watkins, and Pascal, they're going to make the squad.
Yeah.
There's no question. They're the top 4. But how many receivers will they carry in their wide receiver room? I mean, at the least 5. So at this point, is he better than the other guys that he's trying to go against right now? You got Greg Ward Jr., John Hightower, and Britton Covey. Is he better than any one of those guys? And what else does he bring to the table?
Yeah, that's important.
So if he's a kick returner, a punt returner, he goes out there. I see Britton Covey is kind of locking that job up. There's been a lot of him, going out there and running with the ones and doing a damn good job at the slot position, slot wide receiver position. So Britton Covey, is he better than him? I don't know. You look at Hightower. They're giving him every opportunity to run with the ones also. I haven't seen really Jalen Reagor run with them, a lot. Given the opportunity, he needs to make sure that he locks it down and has, finish having a great preseason. He's done great thus far. You can see he has a change. He's changed his attitude. He's went out there with a mindset that, look, I got to do something. I got to show these guys that I can play. I can play the wide receiver position. And also, he's got to get his leg back up on being a punt returner. Because, like I said, Covey is alpha blood. He wants to make this squad. He understands he has to maximize his talent every time he's out there. So he's doing the little things, not just at the kick return stuff, but at the wide receiver position to show his value on this team. And he's definitely doing that. Everybody's talking about him, and they're talking about him because he's playing well.
We're going to talk about him with Dave Zangaro. As a first-round pick battling out with an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, rookie.
Yeah, exactly. That's why training camp battles are just so much fun to watch. Well, the final stands from Barrett. Cam Jurgens is going to benefit from getting first-team reps in the preseason. Obviously, no one wants to see Jason Kelce get hurt and go out for the remainder of this camp and preseason, but the Eagles are optimistic that he's going to be there September 11th, the regular season opener, after having his right elbow scoped yesterday. So, for those of us who've never been in an NFL training camp, how much is it going to help Jurgens with his learning curve to get these first-team reps?
I mean, this is a value that they can't even put a number or a price tag on. When you're working with the ones, it's a different way of a different mindset, a different way of thinking, because you're with guys that are veterans that understand the game. Now, if he was working with the twos who haven't had a lot of experience in the league, they might not see the things that he'll be shown by the starters. They may go up to the line in a game and they see a blitz coming from the right side, but the protection is called to the left side. He doesn't know that he can change that protection. But a guy like Lane to be like, hey, kick the protection this way. Let's go Ray big instead of Luke big. Let's kick it to the right side, and they can send the line and the protection to that side, which takes the hot off the quarterback. Now he can go back and deliver the ball because the older guys have put him in position to see that, read that, and those reps are invaluable when it comes to a young guy who hadn't been there before. Another thing, when you're playing with that, it gives you a confidence, knowing that your right guard and your left guard has some experience in the league. They can help you out, help you with calls, help you with blocks. Those are all things and experience that you gain with guys that have been there before. So it's, the experience that he's going to have running with the ones, at least during training camp, are invaluable. Now, we all know Jason Kelce. This guy's, he's like a lumberjack. He never misses a rep.
122 straight games.
Hey, he'll be there. He'll be there come first game. Watch what I tell you.
Still really good experience, as you mentioned, though, that silver lining, I guess, right now. As we go to break, time for our Birds trivia question. In the last 20 years, who are the 4 wide receivers the Eagles have selected in the first round? Think about it. We're going to have the answer for you coming up. And we're talking with our Eagles insider, Dave Zangaro, coming up on the other side. What role will Haason Reddick play in Jonathan Gannon's defense? And who will Dave be watching closely in Friday night's preseason opener? More Birds Huddle, presented by PointsBet, in a moment. Back with our Birds trivia question. In the last 20 years, who are the 4 wide receivers the Eagles have selected in the first round? The answer? Well, Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor, Nelson Agholor, and Jeremy Maclin. Stories still to be written for Smith and Reagor. Agholor and Maclin both played 5 seasons with the Birds. Maclin had over 1,300 yards in his final season in Philly back in 2014. Time now to get the bird's eye view from our Eagles insider, Dave Zangaro, who joins us from the NovaCare complex. Always good to see you, Dave. How are you? It looks nice and sunny where you are.
It is very sunny. I love training camp, guys. So I'm in the middle of it's like a week-long, 2-week-long Christmas for me.
I love it. It is like Christmas. It's Christmas for the rest of us. I got to ask you about this, though. Haason Reddick had some interesting comments yesterday about how defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon has been seeking Reddick's input on how he likes to be used. Take a listen. I'm going to get your reaction.
I know what my role is. I know what I'm here to do. And I don't have to worry about being put in a position that's not meant for me. 9 times out of 10, J.G. Wash, they're always asking me, what do I like? What do I feel like is best for me as far as my skill set? And you love to see that. As a guy who had a rocky, a rocky start to the NFL by position changes and all that stuff, to be in a place now where I'm being asked for my insight, I mean, that in itself is incredible.
I mean, this is a big thing. It certainly is a big thing to Reddick. So, of course, Dave, he was the big veteran addition on the defensive side of the ball. How would you describe his role from what you've seen in camp, and how important is it for him to have that input?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important for everyone at that level to have some sort of input. It makes them feel like they have some sort of ownership on their side of the ball. We saw it last year with Fletcher Cox when things were rocky between him and Jonathan Gannon. It was because he felt like he wasn't being used right. So the two of them sat down, they talked it out, and they figured out, okay, Fletcher, like, what do you want to do? What do you think accentuates your strengths the best? And then they went from there. And if you look at Hassan Reddick, I don't think there's much mystery here. We saw early in his career the Arizona Cardinals tried to make him an inside linebacker, and he was out of position. His best strength, the thing he does better than just about anyone else in the league, is get after the quarterback, and that's what they're going to use him here to do. I mean, there are going to be certain times where they ask him to drop in coverage, but it's not going to be an awful lot. I mean, his number one job, and he has 23.5 sacks in the last couple of years, is going to be to go ahead and get after the quarterback. They need the edge rush help. They only had 29 sacks as a defense last year, so he's going to help out quite a bit.
Barrett, I got to ask you, I mean, that's an important thing. One, to know your role, and two, to have it be a role that you're really, really good at. As Dave was saying, I mean, 23.5 sacks the last couple of years. His edge rush position is something he should be able to contribute with right away.
I mean, it gives the defense an identity. For so long, they went out there and did not get sacked. They didn't put pressure on the quarterbacks, which hurt them from a secondary standpoint because they had no pressure. He will now give them pressure. This Gannon was called a more aggressive game because he has guys like him. And Sweat's going to benefit from it. Brandon Graham's going to benefit from it because if he's coming off one edge, you can only slide and bring a running back or whatever to help chip on him. But who are you going to do on the other side? This gives other guys on the defense an opportunity to go out there and hunt, to go out there and eat, because he's going to command some attention because he's good enough to go out there and command double teams and slide in protections.
Yeah, that's going to be big. Well, Jalen Reagor, he spoke to the media today for the first time since last October of 2021. He says he's ready for the challenge to battle for a spot on this team. So, Dave, how do you assess Reagor's chances to make the roster?
I still think he has a pretty good chance, and I know that some fans are going to roll their eyes at that, and they're going to roll their eyes when we say he's having a pretty good training camp, but that's kind of the fact of it here. I mean, you look back at last summer, and he had a couple spectacular plays in one-on-ones, but honestly, his camp wasn't very consistent. He needed to find more consistency, and I think overall he's played better this summer than he did last summer. Now, maybe some of that is because the expectations aren't quite as high. Last year, he was entering the season as the number 2 option. This year, he's probably number 5 in the pecking order, so some of those expectations have been removed, and he's been able to just be himself and be able to go out there and have fun playing football. Look, I think at this point, you can't expect him to ever be worthy of that first-round pick. It's about trying to get something out of a player this deep into his career. And right now, I really think he has an inside advantage to get one of those last roster spots at the receiver position.
All right, Dave, we know starters are going to play minimally, if at all, in Friday's preseason opener. That's just how it goes nowadays. How excited, though, are you to see the nose tackle, the rookie, Jordan Davis, just fill up that giant space in a game?
Yeah, I'm very excited. And what we've seen out here on the practice fields has been special. I mean, this is a 340-pound, 6'6" nose tackle that moves like he's a guy much smaller than that. His athleticism jumps off the screen, and I expect to see that on Friday night in live competition when they actually get the tackle to the ground. He's been a joy to watch so far. He's way ahead of where I thought he was in terms of polish in his pass rush because he wasn't really asked to do much of that at Georgia. He's pretty good at it already, and he keeps getting better. He gets better every week we see him. So getting to watch him in a real game is going to be quite a treat.
He's also better at press conferences than half the guys I think out there.
Right.
But, Barrett, you get your first look at him since we saw him in a Georgia uniform. What do you expect from him on Friday?
I expect him to do what he came in here to do, and that's, reestablish the line of scrimmage on run plays. That means just when the ball snapped, I expect the center or whoever he's on be 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And on pass plays, I want him to go out there and collapse the pocket. That's going to be his sole purpose. Filling space in the interior of that defense, and everything else, would take care of itself. Because when you're getting pressure on pass rush from collapsing the pocket and the quarterback can't step up, then you're stopping him in the run. That's what his role is, and that's exactly why they drafted him. Was the number 13 pick in this draft? Just to be a guy in the middle, just creating havoc and being 6'6" and playing like he's 340 pounds and pushing guys around. That's what football is all about.
Yes,
that's what it's all about.
All right, Dave, before we let you go, Britton Covey, you know, there's always a guy that becomes a training camp star. He is that guy, it seems like, right now. What are you going to be watching from him on Friday?
I like that we're talking about like the biggest guy on the roster and then the smallest guy in Britton Covey. Yeah, I mean, he's 5'8", 173, but I've been really impressed with him as a receiver out here working the slot, very quick in that middle part of the field.
Yes.
But really, what I want to see is his return ability, because as much as they practice it out here at training camp, until it's live, you can't really get a full sense of just how good a return man is going to be. I have a good idea, though, based on watching him at Utah and just seeing how smooth he is in the return game, both as a punt returner and a kick returner. But I want to see it when things go live, because I think he has a legitimate shot at making this roster, maybe a better shot than any of the other undrafted kids on this team.
Yeah, I think we all remember that 90-plus yarder in the Rose Bowl. It's hard to forget that. Dave, as always, we appreciate it. Looking forward to that preseason open on Friday night. We will see you later this week as well as on Friday. Thanks, Dave.